Hello, this is Rory Donovan Scott, and you are watching Trash Talk. Yes, we are doing another film review today. Maybe you can tell because I'm still dressed in the same thing. Because it's still the same night. Many remember The Crow for its fantastic acting, strong film noir visuals, and cathartic storytelling of good versus evil. But not too many people know that it's actually very, very loosely based on a series of comic books by the same name. Now, I say very loosely based. The general plot is still there. It is about a man named Eric who comes back from the dead to avenge himself and his dead fiancée, Shelley, who were murdered and raped by a gang. That much is true. Basically, the similarities are the general plot and the names, but the actual story and how it's delivered is completely different. Ultimately, while it can be said that The Crow is a very crude adaptation of the source material and doesn't hold much resemblance to the source material, its strong acting and film noir visual style still label it a masterpiece in modern cinema. I'm sorry, what? Yeah, I'm reviewing The Crow. Death Note? Oh, we're reviewing Death Note. Okay, then yeah, take everything I just said, it still applies, but somehow the movie sucks. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, we are reviewing the 2017 Netflix adaptation of Death Note. I don't think I'm going to have to get into too many spoilers for this film, because my review is going to be more epistemologically based than actually on the details of the film. But to give you a quick overview, the film follows Light Turner, a supposedly incredibly intelligent social reject in high school who gets his hands on a Death Note, which is, simply put, a journal kept by a death god, or Shinigami, that is the instrumental tool in taking life. All one has to do is simply write a name down in the notebook, and as long as they have that person's face in mind, they can write a way in which that person will die, and then in a almost final destination manner, that death will occur. Light chooses to use this journal to make the world a better place by single-handedly dispatching all the world's worst criminals, but because of him doing this, he draws the attention police, FBI, and even Interpol. Enters antagonist L, a borderline Aspergian obsessive detective with Sherlock Holmes skills, bent on bringing this murderer to justice. A plot that will no doubt lead to some sort of cathartic battle between Light, accompanied by his girlfriend Mia, and his Shinigami sidekick Ryuk, and L. Now, ultimately, people have given this film a lot of flack for not being faithful to the source material, and it is absolutely not faithful to the source material. If you are familiar with the manga, other than the names and general plot being the same, there are two completely different stories. The version of Light portrayed in the manga is a sociopath, egotistical genius with a god complex, who has no problem dispatching people no matter how good or evil they are as long as it serves him. And L, while yes, definitely Aspergian and Sherlock Holmes-esque, is a very sweet and reserved personality deep down. He has a very strong, intimate side, but it's very reserved. In the film, Light is portrayed as a genuinely good human being who's caught up in more than he can handle, and L is sort of a loose cannon, exploding when things get too emotional for him. So for a lot of people, the two character shifts there were very upsetting. But I have to make this plea to you. Please, try and look at this film as an independent entity and not as an adaptation of the anime or manga. Just look at it as its own piece, and actually, it's not that bad. Willem Dafoe's portrayal of Ryuk is nothing short of genius. I mean, everything that people like about the original is still there, but he gives it that little Willem Dafoe flair. I mean, it's just awesome. One thing that can definitely be said about this movie is that it's very stylistic. Rather not the whole 80s rock thing really fit for people or not, it picked a direction and it went with it. It uses a very strong color palette of deep neons and reds to sort of throw us back into that 80s nostalgia kick that everybody loves right now. I mean, this adaptation of Death Note is very inspired. Rather or not everybody loves it, and that's up for people to decide, it is definitely an inspired piece, which is more than I can say for the vast majority of film adaptations of animes. It definitely feels like Adam Wingard wanted to make a Death Note movie, that he wanted to do this story. He just decided to go a drastically different direction with it. So, how can I review this film as a standalone? Well, I do think that the acting was very good. The character of Light Turner was a little too teen angsty for me, but it fit for the story they were telling. I felt that the side characters were very well acted in this. I thought that Shea Wiggum, playing Light Turner's father, did a great job. I'm a huge fan of Shea Wiggum. I've loved him dearly since Splinter back in 2008. Lakeith's character, though very different from the source material, was certainly well acted. No part of his performance felt unbelievable to the character that's established there. You may look at his character and say, that's not how L is supposed to be, and it's not how the anime or manga L is supposed to be, but we can say that it's consistent with the character established within the film. Ultimately, I feel they could have done more with the premise. Even if they did want to go in a different direction, the way that they sort of did a book report of the most important parts of Death Note, but didn't really delve into the psychological aspects of the story at all, kind of left me wanting more. Also, while they tried to establish the dynamic between Light and L, ultimately it felt like two kids trying to play tag in a dark room. There was no stroke of genius on either of their behalves, although it felt like there was supposed to be. And that's one thing that people genuinely love about the anime, that I genuinely love about the anime, is that the story is very much a game of chess between those two characters, constantly one-upping each other. And again, I don't think it needs to do what the anime did, but it needed something. It needed some serious drive, some sort of conflict that was intelligent and made you think. So yes, ultimately, I think that this film is given much less credit than it deserves. I don't think that it's a fantastic movie. I don't think that it's an incredible horror film, but I definitely think that it's worth a watch, if you can get past it being such an abysmal representation of the source material. Because remember, a movie can be a poor representation of its source material and still be a great movie. The Crow is my example. I'd say I'd give the movie about 55 out of 100, because the acting was good. I absolutely loved any scene with Willem Dafoe's Ryuk in it. I was entertained through the movie. There was a couple of lines that I genuinely enjoyed. Ultimately, it left me wanting more, but it was still a well-done film. Now, I know a lot of those hardcore Death Note fans out there are going to say, how can you give this movie anything above a 20 out of 100? And the reality of it is, I'm trying to look at it from a less biased perspective. Anyway, if you liked my review, hit that like button and share it. If you didn't like it, explain down in the comment section why. Regardless, thanks and have a great day.